You're tuned in to the W with Walls and the crew, where winning isn't everything. It's the only thing. On 100.1 FM and Facebook Live.
All right, we are here inside of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Excuse me, we're having
There we go.
All right, we are here live inside of the Tampa Bay Convention Center. The W show. We're here, and it's, you know what? It's kind of getting live in here. Monday morning, actually Monday afternoon now. And the thing about it is, this is a lot of our first time being here in Tampa Bay. Q, I'll start with you. What is your first thoughts when you're coming in here inside of the convention center?
First time in the convention center, it was a lot more convenient. We talked about that on the walk in. It was a lot more friendly to the guys that, aren't these very large broadcasters.
Right.
We're not CBS, we're not ESPN, and there's a lot of guys and guys and girls, but there are a lot of different teams here that are indie.
Mm-hmm.
And last year in Miami, they really didn't make it easy to get into Radio Row. So this year, it was definitely a lot easier. It took a lot of the strain off of us. And, with this being our second year, we kind of knew what to, kind of know what to expect, but, we really don't know what to expect,
Right.
because it's not as big of a circus as it was last year, especially on the first day. But it's, so far I'm loving it.
And we had a chance to join in on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers press conference earlier today. We talked to Tom Brady. We also talked to Bucs offensive coordinator Byron Leftwich. Noel, when you walked in, what were your initial thoughts as we came into here at the Tampa Bay Convention Center?
Much different. A whole lot more space, obviously, because of the COVID restrictions. Hopefully this year, we just pick up on the momentum we had from last year and just continue to get amazing guests and more insight and just talk about this great game that's coming up, because I'm really excited for the game. Last year, I felt like it was cool to be Radio Row, but I wasn't as excited for the game. This year, I'm really excited for the game. I'm really ready to hear different opinions on who thinks, who's going to step up. Obviously, we got this high-powered Chiefs offense going up against a stout run defense, but maybe not as a strong pass defense in the Buccaneers. And we got so many storylines working. I'm just excited to, hear all perspectives, honestly.
Now, again, the W Show, we're live in here for the Super Bowl on Radio Row, the Super Bowl week, Super Bowl 55 week here in Tampa Bay. And this is being brought to you by the Golden Gate Funeral and Cremation Services, the Stockman Lawfirm, also Midway Auto, Soiree Steak and Oyster House, Gates Barbecue, The Soul of Santa, and Phenomenal Kids Childcare. Now, Jazz, I want to ask you, this being your first time with us on Radio Row, what were your initial thoughts when you came in here this morning?
Yeah, it's a lot to take. It was definitely a lot to take in coming in the beginning. A little nerve-wracking, but I'm excited. Excited to be here, excited to meet new people, get to network, and I think it'll be a great rest of the week.
Now, in just a few minutes, we'll be going into the Chiefs Zoom press conference for Super Bowl week. We'll hear from Chiefs head coach Andy Reid, also Tyreek Hill. We'll have a little honey badger on our show today, and we followed up with Patrick Mahomes, also Travis Kelce. So I'm interested to see what these guys have to say. It's a little different for them this year.
Yeah.
Of course, in Miami last year, Monday night was media night, and it was kind of a madhouse, so to speak.
Yeah.
And you had media from all over the world, and they were the players were set up, just to give you guys a behind the curtain look. The players were each set up at a different podium, so you had to scramble around in what the media like to call a scrum. And you just kind of had to go and pick and choose who you got, because you only had a certain amount of time with these players at the different podiums. So you had to pick and choose, and hopefully you landed a player.
Yeah,
we picked up some good interviews last year. I feel like, as far as the woman coach, I think that was a good one. We scrapped up on that one.
Katie Sauer.
That was a good one. But yeah, now it was fun. We met Taylor Rooks there too.
Yes, my favorite.
That was my personal favorite as well. So it was great.
Yeah, definitely. And Steve, you got to give us your take on today. Let me take the moderator reigns from you and really talk about this day, really from the start, because I think you were the first to wake up.
Yeah, and actually, before we do that, we have Patrick Mahomes, who is getting ready to start right now. So let's go over to hear what Patrick Mahomes, Chiefs quarterback, has to say about the Super Bowl.
Good. The end of February. Yeah, it's going up.
And I think there's still a few minutes before Patrick speaks. But to answer your question, Q, just coming in here today, it was a lot different. Like I said, last year it was in Miami. There were 150 or so radio outlets from across the world. Also, you had the big outlets as far as like ESPN, Fox Sports. They had their big booths, and they were broadcasting their shows live from Radio Row. So it's a little different, a little bit more calm, but you still have the rest of the week, and I think it'll start filling up later on in the week, because there's still some empty tables in here. But also they have the plexiglass. But here's Patrick.
Go ahead and start taking questions for Patrick Mahomes. Let's start with Aaron Ladd. Go ahead, Aaron.
You hear me?
Gotcha.
Awesome. First, I wanted to ask just how different this media day has been. Tom talked about sitting in an empty room versus having a room full of people and music going. How different has the Super Bowl experience been for you? And I got one more.
Yeah, I mean, it's very different. Obviously, just sitting in an empty room and not at the even in the city of the Super Bowl, it's a unique experience. I'm sure Tom has a little bit even more experience than I did, but from last year to this year, definitely a different experience.
And then we'll have a little fun here since this Super Bowl Media Day. There was a thread earlier this year that compared NFL starting quarterbacks to rappers. we're going to start with Lamar Jackson. He was compared to Roddy Ricch because he has a great impact in the game in his early career. J. Cole was compared to Russell Wilson because he was kind of a do-it-all guy who carries his team on his back. And your comparison here was Lil Uzi Vert. I wonder if you're a Lil Uzi Vert fan and who you're listening to.
I am a Lil Uzi Vert fan. I don't know how that comparison goes, but I mean, I am a big fan of his. I listen to all those guys, man. I keep it versatile. I listen to all types of music.
Appreciate the time.
I need to know where that was. That
Let's go next to Omar Ruiz. Go ahead, Omar.
Hey, Patrick. Good to see you, man.
Good seeing you.
Obviously, you guys went 14-2, had a great record. But I'm curious, what do you think has been the most challenging or difficult aspect of this kind of run-it-back season, trying to win the Super Bowl back-to-back years?
Yeah, I think it was just keeping everybody focused every single week, every single day, trying to improve. It speaks to the leaders that we have in this locker room, that we were able to kind of grind through and find ways to win games. But you can definitely feel the intensity picked up as the playoffs started, and I think guys are ready to be in this game as well.
Let's go next to Liam Fox. Liam.
Hey, Patrick. I just wanted to ask about the matchup with Lavonte David and Devin White, and what type of challenges do they pose specifically having two high-level inside linebackers lining up next to each other?
Yeah, I mean, I think the best thing that both of those guys do is they can defend the run just as well as they defend the pass. And to have a lot of linebackers with that much speed, and then to be able to get in the run game and be able to pop and throw their body around and make stops. It's a special group of guys, and so they're definitely someone that I have to pay attention to every single play because they seem like they just make plays every single game.
Let's go next to Lucas Weiss. Go ahead, Lucas.
Patrick, thanks for taking the time. Tom Brady was in here earlier, and he was talking about just imparting wisdom to some of the younger quarterbacks. I'm just curious how important that conversation was with you and him after the AFC Championship a couple years ago, and what you learned from that loss as a player and a person.
Yeah, it was very important. For me, I think it was important because it showed that I was doing things the right way. As a young quarterback in this league, you kind of go in, you show up early, and you try to put in the time and put in the work. But you don't really know until you get to that spot of where you want to be at. Losing an AFC Championship game, obviously I didn't get to the Super Bowl, but then him coming and kind of just saying that he respected what I was doing and how I was playing on the field and the type of person that I was. It kind of just put that stamp on me that I needed to go in and even be better in order to get to the Super Bowl, which we did last year. And I was trying to keep improving and keep getting better every single day.
Go next to Diana Rossini. Go ahead, Diana.
Hi, Patrick. Sorry you can't see us.
Y'all good.
That may be a gift, actually. So, we've seen in the past it's so difficult to repeat as Super Bowl champs. So obviously you guys are on the verge of trying to do this. Why do you think it's so hard? Like, what do you think teams have done maybe wrong or perhaps missed out on in trying to repeat? Maybe something that you guys have talked about.
I think it's difficult because this league has so much parity as far as everybody can beat anybody any single week. There's not a lot of leagues, there's not a lot of divisions of football or anything like that that is like that. I mean, literally, you could be the worst team in the league one year and all go to the Super Bowl the next. And I think that just shows the talent that people have in this league. And so for us, we knew that. And instead of just soaking in all the glory of the Super Bowl last year, we went back to work. And we went to work every single day to make ourselves better, to prepare ourselves for every single situation that could arise. And it's put us in this game. But we have to keep going because we're playing a great football team, and we're going to try to find a way to complete that run back tour.
Let's go next to Arnie Stapleton. Go ahead, Arnie.
Hey, Patrick. Just talking to Shaquille Barrett. He said how he kind of incorporated a lot of Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware into his game. He was their backup for so many years in Denver. I'm just wondering what your thoughts are of facing Shaq Barrett, where he kind of stands in your mind in the NFL as some of these premier pass rushers.
Yeah, I mean, he's right up there at the top. The nothing. I didn't get to play him a lot when he was in Denver, but in the few experiences I did have, and whenever I got to watch Alex play him, you could see how much talent he had, even though he was backing up those guys. He was able to come in and make plays happen and sack the quarterback and be around the football. And so him getting to Tampa Bay, I mean, it's just really shown how talented he was, getting more opportunities. And he's another guy on this defense that you got to get to know where he's at every single time. The last time we played him, he stripped sacked. So I got to make sure I know where he's at on each and every play.
Let's go to Sam McDowell next. Go ahead, Sam.
Hey, what's up, Patrick? I got a couple things for you. First of all, can you kind of describe exactly like where you are right now? Because I wanted to get a gist of how different it is from this time last year on that stage.
Yeah, I'm in a room, just kind of like the back of the PR area, and we're kind of set up with the screen behind me and the light and the camera and all the different stuff. And they must have shipped this camera in. I've never seen it before, so no, it is a lot different than it was last year when we were surrounded by everybody and enjoying media night.
And how much does that change this week of preparation? I mean, does it make it easier at all, the fact that you guys are at your home base right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think it does. You kind of get in the routine as a football player. You come to the building, you go watch film in this room, you go to practice. You go off to practice, you go back, watch film with these group of people, and at a certain area. And to have that kind of routine stay the same is definitely something that I think will help us go out there and play better, even than we did last year. And so it's definitely a different experience, but you just treat it as any other football game and try to prepare yourself the best way to play your best football.
Let's go next to Harold Kuntz.
Yeah.
Hey, Patrick, happy Super Bowl week to you. Hey, Tom Brady just mentioned that a lot of the things he was asked about what he would like to do that you can do, and he said one of them is throwing further and a couple other things. I'd like to reverse that question. Are there any things of Tom Brady that you would like to do outside of, of course, winning 6 Super Bowl championships?
Yeah, there's a ton. I mean, the way he's able to dissect defenses before the snap is something that I truly admire. That I'm trying to get to that level. The way he's able to move within the pocket and be able to reset his feet, and be completely calm, and still make the throw right on the money, no matter who's around him, is something that I have to continue to work on. And as I continue in my career, I'm still trying to do whatever I can to watch the tape on him, because he's doing it the right way, and you can tell by how many Super Bowl championships he has and the rings are on his fingers.
Let's go next to Lindsay Jones. Go ahead, Lindsay.
Hi, Patrick. I've got two parts that are related here. It seems like we're seeing you everywhere now when we're watching television, different commercials, all those sorts of things. So what has been your strategy through your career, particularly since you signed the contract last summer, about how you wanted to build your off-field brand, your investments, your portfolio? Are there any athletes that you kind of model yourself after? And then as part of that, why have you and Brittany specifically wanted to invest in the Kansas City athletic community with the Royals and the NWSL?
Yeah, to the first part of your question, I think the biggest thing for me is kind of forming people around me that are great people. The partners that I kind of become partners with, the companies that I represent, they all have great leadership. They all have great people throughout that company, and I like to enhance my brand by being a part of that, being a part of great companies that have done it the right way for a long time. And then to the part about Kansas City, I think the thing with me and Brittany is we want to invest in this community as much as they've invested in us. And as far as me investing in the Royals and becoming a part owner in there, and really that's one of my dreams I've always had with baseball, and then her with the NWSL team and bringing them back to Kansas City, a place where women's soccer is really emphasized and supported. It's just the tip of the iceberg. We want to continue to invest in this community to be the best community that it possibly can be.
Let's go next to Adam Teicher. Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, Patrick. You were joking after the Buffalo game about Tom Brady and saying this was 150 Super Bowls and stuff for him. But I wanted to ask you, in all seriousness, what kind of role model has he been when you were a younger football player? I mean, what kind of influence did he have on you, maybe wanting to go into football, if any? I mean, did you when you decide you're going to play football instead of other sports, Was it, hey, I want to be like this guy? Anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, if you're a young athlete and you play any sport and you don't look up to guys like Tom Brady, then you're crazy. I mean, the guy that had success year in and year out continues to make himself better and not be satisfied with where he's at. He's the type of greatness that you strive to be like and to be towards as you grow up. And so, for me, I grew up watching him play, and he's still here playing, and he's still at the top of the game. So for me, I continue to watch him and watch the things that he does on and off the field in order to figure out the best way to make me the best player possible.
Next to Brian Costello. Go ahead, Brian.
Just wondering if you could describe what this last year has been like for you, going back to the Super Bowl last year. You know, all the success you had in the field, getting your contract, expecting you to maybe imagine having a better year than the one you had.
Yeah, I mean it's full of ups and downs. I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, obviously winning the Super Bowl, amazing. Being able to celebrate that first championship in 50 years in the Chiefs Kingdom, the parade, all that was awesome. And then we got hit with the pandemic, and I think as a country and as the world, we all strive to continue to try to keep each other safe and keep ourselves safe. And then all the social injustices and things going on in that realm, as a nation, we've had to find ways to strive and make ourselves better there. And then now back into the football season and then back into another Super Bowl. I mean, it's been full of ups and downs, and I've just kind of realized that I can control what I can control, and that is to be the best person, the best player, and the best person in the community that I can be every single day.
Let's go next to Caleb Byrne. Go ahead, Caleb.
Hi, Mr. Mahomes. Thank you so much and congrats.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
So, I know one of your buds, Tyrann Matthews, nicknamed the Honey Badger for how he plays on the field. But what do you think your spirit animal nickname is?
Man, spirit animal nickname. I would like to be like a wolf. I feel like a wolf, kind of running around with my pack and being able to be a leader and someone that continues to attack and continues to lead as much as possible.
What about your bud, Travis Kelce? What do you think his is?
Travis, man. Got to be something funny. I think he'd be like a giraffe. You know, he's kind of just out there racing around the field, trying to make something happen. You know, kind of different things that he can run around and do stuff with, and it's always a good time.
All right, thank you so much, and good luck on the Super Bowl.
Thank you.
Let's go next to James Palmer. Go ahead, James.
Patrick, Tom's very open about guys their age, if they want to put the time in with their bodies, can play to the age that he's playing at. Have you thought of that as a barometer? If you want to play to 43, 45, and do you already start putting your body through that about maybe having that?
I mean, yeah, you have to. I think that's the biggest thing. If you want to play this sport for a long time, how physical it is, you have to invest as much time into your body as you do anything else. And so I've learned more and more in my young career so far about what I can do to keep myself available and healthy and try to be the best nutritional state I can be in. I feel like I've gotten better, but yeah, I want to play as long as they let me. But in order to do that, I have to take care of my body as much as I take care of everything else.
Let's go next to Steve Walls. Go ahead, Steve.
Hey, Patrick, how you doing, man? Hey, Andy talked last week, and he called you a gym rat. And I know you put in countless hours during the regular season, and you just talked about routine. And I know that you have different media responsibilities this week, but do you feel like you're putting in more or less time at the facility with everything that's happening this week?
Yeah, definitely more. I mean, you got to kind of invest everything you possibly can in this game, especially playing a team that we're playing. I think I've used the last week as a normal game week, put all the film down, got the different breakdowns in, everything like that, and then took advantage of every practice day that we had. Then I'm just going to restart it and do it all over again this week. And so having the 2 weeks, you don't want to take a day for granted. Obviously, you have to do the media stuff, and you're appreciative of that and being able to come out here and talk to everybody. But at the same time, you make sure that you're getting your work done off of that prepares you for the game. That's the most important thing.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go next to Adam Teicher. Go ahead, Adam.
Adam's gone. He's with Andy Reid.
Adam?
All right, next we're going to go to Joey Redden. Go ahead, Joe.
Hey, what's up, Travis? Thank you, bud. Just after the last AFC Championship game, you did your best Beastie Boys impression, which I know we all really appreciate. And then after the AFC Championship game this year, I don't know if caught that they were playing that song in the stadium after you guys won, seemingly in honor of you. Is there a victory song, perhaps, that you maybe consider at the end of Sunday? If you have the microphone again and give us another musical impression.
Listen, man. I don't know. Honestly, it was all instincts when I first did the "Fight for Your Right to Party" on the stage. When I was trying to take Nance's mic away, but I think it was something that Kansas City is very familiar with. A lot of people don't know this, but if you're in Arrowhead after a touchdown, we play that song, and then that's what got the crowd fired up when I started to say the chant. I'm not sure if it would ever be anything else other than that. If I were to, get on the mic and start singing something.
All right, next we're going to go to Steve Walls. Go ahead, Steve.
Hey, what's up, Trav?
Steve.
Hey, I was just on Patrick's Zoom a bit ago, and he was asked about what his spirit animal would be. And he said that he would be a wolf, being able to run around with his wolf pack. And he was also asked what he thought your spirit animal would be, and he said that you would be a giraffe. What do you think about that, man? And what would your spirit animal be?
I don't even know. What is man, a giraffe?
That's what he said.
That just threw me. What he did was he threw me to the wolves, man. Oh, man, I couldn't even tell you, man. So you're saying what would my spirit animal be?
Yes.
Man, I grew up a Heights Tiger, man. I grew up playing the eye of the tiger in every single sports moment in my life. So I feel like I've always had the eye of the tiger, man.
Cool, thanks.
All right, next we're going to go to...
You're not going to ask me what I think Pat's animal is? I won't even chime in on that.
All right, next up we're going to go to Alvin Whitney. Go ahead, Alvin.
Hey, Trav, thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it. Of course. It's tough to win one Super Bowl. Back to back.
Oh, man. Just trying to build up the... Honestly, I don't know what it's going to feel like if I get that opportunity. And I don't want to think about what it would feel like, before it happens. Because if it doesn't happen, man, it's going to be one of those most sickening things that I've ever gone through, man. To make it to the big show, I've been watching nothing but NFL films, recaps of previous Super Bowls and the stories that happened throughout those years and for both of the teams. And they were just kind of on replay yesterday, just going one after another. And to see the guys that didn't make it, didn't find a way to win. I hope that I never have that feeling ever, come to life. It's just we put so much effort and so much thought and so much, dream and vision and everything goes into this week, last week, the 2 weeks going into the Super Bowl. That if it doesn't pan out for us, man, I don't even want to think about what that feeling would feel like. So I'm just gonna go ahead and go out there and every single day just put in the work, enjoy the process with my brothers, and hope that we go out there and we put on a show and drag ourselves across the finish line, man.
And finally, can you take me through Kelce game day experience? You look like you have a great time out there from beginning to end, pre-game, always. Take me through your approach to the game. It just looks like a lot of fun.
Bring the energy, man. That's it right there. Bring the energy, bring the fire. Know that it's going to be a 4-quarter game. So all the highs and lows that happen in the first, second quarter, you can't let them affect you, knowing that there's a lot of ball left to be played. And just try and be there for my teammates. Anything that the coaches need me to do or the players,
human, particularly, are you most proud of?
Oh man, I mean, I'm a giver. I love to give my time. I'm not a person that's big on material things or possessions. It's more so about how I impact people, how I affect people. Whether that's positively or negatively. But I probably say the most important thing is that I'm always willing to give a little bit of me to help anybody else out.
We're going to go back to Darren Urban at ArizonaCardinals.com. Go ahead, Darren.
You touched on BA a little earlier, but I'm curious, especially after how close you guys came in 2015 and how that group was pretty optimistic. What's it like now going against so many of those coaches and seeing them in the Super Bowl? You're back there. Just that the relationships you had with a lot of those defensive coaches and guys that are over there on the other sidelines.
Yeah, man. Those guys are great coaches. They were great coaches, back when we were in Arizona. And, I probably say they were a big reason why, we won so many games, out west. And, those guys, all of those guys really continue, coaching and continue teaching and continue leading. That says everything about those guys as a coach. They got a lot of young guys on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that play, at a big level. And I probably say a lot of that has to go to, those same coaches. I like to think about, the teams we had in Arizona, and, we were a well coached, football team and I think that really gives you, the chance to go out and really, compete, each and every week to win games. And, like I said, it's good to see those guys continue to have some success in the league.
Tyron, this is Jaron May. Jaron, go ahead.
Hey, Tyron, I appreciate your time. So Tom Brady, not completely sure if you saw earlier today, had some good things to say about you and your playing style. And the last time he talked about finding someone on every single play, it was Ed Reid when he wrote it down on his play calling sheet that he had to find 20 on every single play. What does it mean to you to have such high praise from what you just said is the greatest player of all time?
I mean, listen, I think that's why you play the game. You play the game for, respect from your coaches, your teammates, and then also your opponents as well. And, obviously I'm a big fan of Tom. I follow him. I've always been a fan of him. And so to have somebody, that I idolize, in a sense, even recognize me, obviously that's a proud moment for me. But once we step on the field, it's all about competing at a high level. It's all about trying to make the most out of each opportunity, each play.
And this is Clarence Hill with the Fort Worth Star Telegram. Clarence, go ahead.
What have you done to let people know, since living in Arizona, that you're still a big time playmaker, and it seems like you remade your image? I know coming out of Arizona, the Cowboys, who have been needing safety since forever, didn't think you were a scheme fit. I don't know if it makes you. It's funny that people kind of pigeonholed you, but now everybody universally sees that you were a playmaker.
Yeah, I think when I first came into this league, man, I was probably one of the most underrated athletes, in the NFL. And I think, going through my injuries, I think having two ACL injuries, early on in my career, that could kind of scare a lot of people off. But I think, one of the things people forgot about me was I think they always saw me make splash plays. But I have always been, a guy that always relied on his fundamentals. And I think having those injuries early on in my career obviously scared people off. But, I just had to come back to the point where, mentally, I was always as good as I've always been. And I think having those injuries and then being able to show the mental side of the game as well, even when physically you don't run as fast or you don't jump as high, mentally you can always go to a new level. And for me, that's what I've tried my best to
to maximize. That's what I've tried my best to fall back on, because you do get older in this league. And, it's hard to kind of stay healthy in this league as well. So, for me, I love football, and so it doesn't matter where I'm at on the defense. For me, it's all about understanding, the defense, and then from that just, relying on, my instincts.
Ivan, we're going to Brooke Pryor from ESPN. Brooke.
Hey Tyron, when you and Antonio Brown were both free agents, you tweeted something like you wanted to go wherever he was going. You guys could play together, that kind of thing. What is it like seeing him now play with the Bucs, not in a Steelers uniform? And does it make the situation any weirder that he and Le'Veon Bell are both playing in the Super Bowl, but for different teams?
Yeah, I mean, anytime, you have guys, with that kind of talent, that kind of ability, you always imagine those guys staying on one team. I think things, change, in the NFL, and, we all have to be ready to adapt. But to see him have success, in Tampa Bay, obviously keep his head down, continue to work hard, continue to be a great teammate to those guys. I've heard nothing positive things, about Antonio. And so, like I said, it's good to see him have some success. It's good to see him smile again.
This is Carita Parks from Double Take Sports. Carita, go ahead.
Yes, hi, Tyron. You
Hey.
kind of talked about this a little bit already when it comes to your upbringing and then just also some of the challenges you've had professionally. But if you look back over your journey, how would you say you've grown as a man and as a player?
Well, I think, for me as a man, it's all about, forgiving people, and then also forgiving yourself too. I think that really allows you to continue to grow, to continue to, accept responsibility for the things that, you feel like you may have done wrong. And then, I mean, as a player, I kind of just touched on it, but, just trying my best to grow mentally, in this league. And, obviously there's a lot of different stresses and distractions that come with it. But I think the players who are mentally prepared, on and off the field, those guys usually have, great careers and great success. And so I'll probably sum it up, with those two things.
Iron, this is Therese Paler with Yahoo Sports. Go ahead, Therese.
Hey Tyron, how you doing?
Hey, doing good.
Hey, question for you. As one of the best chess pieces in the defensive backfield in football, you're somebody that helps flip the numbers for the Chiefs. Another position that, especially on offense, where where a player like you can really help as a chess piece is tight end. My question for you is, this game obviously has a couple chess pieces at tight end and Kelce and Gronk. When a tight end is elite, how does that affect what teams do on defense?
I mean, it affects you a lot. I think as a defense, you want to protect inside out, right? You want quarterbacks to throw 9 balls the whole game. Those balls aren't, really completed that often. I think anytime you have anybody that's in the middle of the field, it always puts stress on the defense, especially when these guys can work in man-to-man coverage on safety and linebackers in mismatch situations. And a lot of some of these guys, I should say, they're really good when you try to put zones around them. They know exactly where to go and not to run into the next defender. But I think anytime you look at defense, or you think of any defense, you try your best to protect inside out. And anytime you have a guy like Gronk and Kelce, in the middle of the field, it always puts some stress on you.
Tyron, we're going to Chris Ryan. Chris, please tell us your affiliation. And go ahead for Tyron.
Hey, Tyron, WGIR in New England. Wanted to ask you a little bit about Tom Brady. You mentioned some of his attributes before, and I'm curious what stands out the most in terms of his attributes. And you've affected so many games so far this year with your playmaking ability. How do you go about picking your spots and making plays?
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably say this, man. He's just so poised, right? And I think this whole season he's been poised, especially with all the noise that they had early on in the season. And, him not throwing the ball downfield or hitting those shots. Even when he struggles in certain halves of certain games, he always finds a way to put his team, back in it. And so I probably say that's one of the things I admire about him the most, but I also hate it because I'm a defender. And, when you're up by 20 points or three scores, and you give him the ball back, he always has a chance to kind of put his team back in it. So, but that's one of the things I, appreciate about him. I think any team that has a good quarterback, has a chance to win. Especially when you have a guy like Tom Brady.
Next up is Nate Davis from USA Today. Nate.
Hey, Tyron, it's a simple question, but I'll go ahead and ask it. I was asking some of Tom Brady's teammates, what makes him special outside of the numbers and the rings and the stuff you've seen in the box score? I believe you prepared for him with all three teams he played with. So what is it about him just that, maybe the average fan can't see that makes him so hard to deal with as a defender?
Yeah, I mean, I think most people, look at him and say to themselves that, he's not, this great athlete at quarterback, but I think one of the things that separate him is really his competitive edge. You can look him in his eye, he has fire in his eye. Like I just mentioned, he always feels like he has a chance to kind of win the game for his team. So you talk about that poise and keeping it calm and keeping it cool. I'll probably say he's one of the best, at really, holding that in and, letting it go at the right time. So, like I said, man, we got to be ready to play full quarter with Tom Brady, even beyond. Like I said, that competitive edge, that drive that he has to still be great. 20 years later, multiple Super Bowls later, I probably say he's different than any other athlete, I've seen. Most guys win and they get comfortable. Most guys win and they showboat. Tom Brady seems to win and then go back to work. So, that's a good thing about him.
Next is Leo Haggerty with Ips Sports Magazine. Leo.
John, thanks for doing this. A little bit along the same lines of a question you were asked earlier. Very few players get to go to a Super Bowl, let alone win. You got a chance to win 2 in a row. What kind of legacy would that be for you and for the Chiefs to win 2 consecutive Super Bowls?
I mean, I'm sure it'll be great. To be one of those teams that, were able to do it, in back-to-back seasons, I'm sure it'll be special, man. But like I said earlier, you try not to really put your hope in the outcome. You just try your best to work as hard as you can so that way you're ready for, whatever the outcome is. And so, but no doubt in my mind, it'll be special, man. Last year was special, bringing that championship back to Kansas City, and to do it 2 times. I'm pretty sure that'll leave a great legacy, for the people of Kansas City and all the areas around it.
Next is Josh Padilla from MTSU Athletics. Go ahead, Josh.
Hey, Tyron. I was wondering if I could ask you a question about Charvarius Ward. As an undrafted free agent coming into the league, and he's only been playing football for what seems like a couple of years, I'm proud of you of the way that he's been able to grow.
I mean, I'm extremely proud of, C. Ward, man, and really the player he's become. I remember me coming in last season, and, obviously he was the starting corner, but, it was a lot of things that he had to work on, that he had to get better at, in a really short time. And so to see him continue to work, man, to continue to take coaching, and then not only that, but to see some things in the film room and then apply those same things on the field, he's really becoming, one of those guys that is going to be talking about, in this league for a long time. He's definitely committed to it, and to see him have success, to see him be a part of, a successful team, I know that's continuing to drive him, every day.
Next question is a follow-up from Bob Fesco. Go ahead, Bob.
Yep.
What's been the most impactful thing you've learned from him or have taken away from him as a coach?
I mean, Coach Reid, I'll probably say this, man. He has a way of maximizing, the time. And whether it's practice, whether it's in meetings, just the structure he's built, the culture he's built here. We're always working on something. We're always trying to find a way to get better. We're always trying to create an edge for ourselves. And Coach Reid is spearheading this thing, man. He's the leader of it all. And to see him, show up each and every day, with work on his mind, as a player, you want to follow suit. You want to listen to that guy. You want to play for that guy.
Okay, we're going to Kendra Douglas, ESH TV. Go ahead, Kendra.
Hey, Tyron. So something that I thought was really neat was the connection that you and Leonard Fournette have, going all the way back to high school. Can you talk about the magnitude of and just how rare it is for two athletes to go to the same high school, same college, wear the same number, and now you guys are both playing in the Super Bowl? And can you also talk about your relationship with Leonard?
Yeah, it's gonna be a special moment for us. Like I said, Leonard is a great talent. Such a great player, such a great man as well, such a great father. And to see him to continue to have success in this league, you always want to root for guys like that. Me and Leonard go way, way back. Obviously, to our days at St. Augustine, and even back then, I knew the kid was gonna be special. I knew he loved football. And that was easy to tell. That was easy to see. He's still bigger than me. He was bigger than me back then. But I think at the end of the day, he knows I'm his big brother. But it's gonna be fun competing against him, going against him. I'm pretty sure 40 years from now, 50 years from now, we'll laugh, at a table, and talk about, this special moment,
Okay, next question is Adam Kilgore from the Washington Post. Go ahead, Adam.
From when you were in Arizona and overlapped with Byron Leftwich, I know he was on the other side of the ball then, but what do you remember about him as a coach and sort of just from a player's perspective? Like, did you see him having a pretty long and bright future in the profession?
I did, man. Me and Coach Leftwich used to actually sit in the sauna, after practices, even sometimes before practicing together. And, obviously me and him share, some of the same agents. And so, we always used to talk ball. Even then, I knew he was an intelligent guy, a guy that knew ball, a guy that understood not only offense, but defenses as well. And so even as a young guy, I knew he was going to be, at some point, offensive coordinator, even a head coach in the league. And, like I said, to see him have that success, to lead that team, I just think about a lot of our conversations in the sauna, just really centered around football and, certain coverages and what the offense or the defense was doing. He just always had that mind, for ball, even when we weren't practicing. So, hats off to Byron and everything he's accomplishing, with the Buccaneers right now.
Okay, we have about 5 more minutes with Tyron. The next question is Rick Stroud from Tampa Bay. Rick, go ahead.
Hey, Tyron, I know the goal is to win your second Super Bowl, obviously, but for what he means to you, when you look across the sideline next Sunday and see Bruce Arians, how happy are you for him to be a head coach in this game?
I'm so happy. Like I said, man, he's one of the first guys to really believe in me, man, to really put his arm around me. Him and his wife both, the encouraging words that they always gave to me, and not just Coach, Aaron, Nick Capone, Kevin Ross, Ty Bowles, like, I probably see those 4 men really, that's where my start in the NFL came from. Those guys were my teachers. Those guys were the guys that were encouraging me to not only be a great football player, but to be a great person off the field. So, it's going to be a weird feeling, man, going up against them. I look at all those guys like fathers and, uncles in a sense. So, but they know me. So they know I'm going to be all out, trying to win the game. But it's going to be fun playing against them. I think that moment, it'll be something I never forget.
Next question is for Trajan Watkins from Black Sports Online. Go ahead, Trajan.
Sorry, how you doing today?
You doing good?
Good.
I want to ask about the challenge that Tampa Bay's tight ends present to your safety group and your linebacker group. Cameron Brady and Rob Gronkowski have each contributed to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense at certain points during the season. This postseason, it's been Cameron Brady. During the past, it's been Rob Gronkowski. They sort of intertwine their contributions here and there. So I want to ask what the challenges those two guys present to you and your defense, considering that both of them can go off and put up some numbers anytime.
Yeah, man, I'd probably say this. I don't think the media talks about those guys enough. They talk about the defense and they talk about Tom Brady. They talk about obviously the wide receivers, but these guys have two tight ends that can really get it done. Like I mentioned a little bit earlier, the defense you want to protect inside out, and so anytime you have two guys in there that can block, pass protect and get into routes vertically, it always adds, stress on the defense. I probably say this, we've talked about him a lot. I think it's important for us to understand where those guys are at, in every formation, and when those guys are in the game or not. But those guys in particular, especially in the red zone, big body guys that can really, catch any ball. And like I said, obviously struck the vertical as well.
Next question is LaRon Massey from Back Sports. LaRon, go ahead.
All right, hey, what's going on, man? How you doing today?
What's up? Good.
Man, I just got one question. I just really want to know what's your biggest motivation going into the Super Bowl this year? Dealing with COVID and everything that's just been going on between 2020 and 2021.
Well, I think my biggest motivation is really to, stay committed, man. Obviously it's been a long year for everybody. I think we've all had to sacrifice, and really adapt. I think us as football players, we've been very fortunate to continue to really do what we love to do, each and every week. I thought the NFL did a great job of, really allowing us to get to this point. And so for me, it's all about finishing. It's all about continuing to, stay committed to my teammates, committed to the process, and never lose track of that. It's the biggest game of the season. So you want to make the most of it, but you never want to forget, the people that help you get to this point.
Okay, we're going to go to Brazil and Danilo Lacalle. Go ahead.
Hi, Terran. How are you doing? Daniel from Brazil.
Good.
Well, Patrick is your second. Sorry. You faced a great quarterbacks during the season, but what is it like to play Tom Brady in the Super Bowl? Do you have to pay more attention than usual, and does that give you more extra motivation?
I mean, this is the biggest game, of our lives, and we're playing against one of the best quarterbacks of our lives. So the pressure's on, man. Obviously, it's going to be a great challenge for us. I can't speak highly enough of Tom Brady and all the great things that he's accomplished and done in his career. Just to see him feeling young again, looking young again. I know we're in for a four-quarter game, so it's going to be tough. It's going to be a big one, but we'll be ready for it.
Okay, the last question for Tyron today is from Jason Fleming, Florida Sun. Go ahead, Jason. Jason, are you there? Okay, let's go to last question here is going to be Colin Paul Macklin. Colin, go ahead.
Tyron, the Honey Badger, how you feeling, man?
I'm doing well, thank you.
So I'm just curious, what's it like being nicknamed the Honey Badger? Being an undersized but scrappy player, do you believe that's the perfect nickname for your style of play?
Yeah, I mean, decade later, man, it's stuck. So obviously.
But can you just share your thoughts? I know Zoom hopping is a thing today. Can you share your thoughts on Eric Bieniemy being shut out of this coaching cycle?
Well, man, it's definitely tough. But
the way that I feel like the way that he do things is, his time will come soon. So his main focus has been just winning this Super Bowl. I can tell, by the way he's been on guys this whole last week. The whole entire last week he's been on guys. He was about working hard. So that time has passed. And like I said, his time will come. And when his time does come, he's going to be an amazing coach.
All right, thanks, Tyree.
Oh, that's it?
Yep, you're good.
Oh, come on, Luke, man. Come on, Luke, bruh. I got company. Let me sit here for a minute.
And we're back, and that was the Chief Zoom media night, the media night press conference. Jazz, Q, No. What are your thoughts about what we've talked about earlier in the show, and what you heard from some of the guys that got to speak?
Are we? There we go. Can you hear me?
Go ahead, Jazz.
Yeah, I think it was obviously we're excited, they're excited. You can tell everybody's just excited to be able to take advantage of it, even if they don't get the full experience this week.
No, your thoughts?
I loved hearing the insight from the Honey Badger. He's a really, really, really intelligent football player. You can tell. I like, kind of what he had to say about Tom Brady being, it is. You want to treat it like it is just another game, but it's totally not. Like, this is the biggest stage, and you're going against arguably the greatest quarterback of all time. So you're going to double down on your film study. You're going to, get your reps in at whatever capacity of practice it is. I just kind of like how he broke down, football. I love to hear it.
And it's crazy because you hear what a lot of these guys are talking about. And I know, Q, you asked me before we started the Zoom, what did I think, the difference was in today, just coming here to Tampa Bay. And one of those things that I can answer now is that the teams aren't here. Yeah. Like on Monday night, media night last year, we were in at a convention center. Yeah. There was a show display basically of both teams coming in to talk to the media. They were at different podiums. And they were asked, a lot of funny questions, questions that had nothing to do with football. And now on these Zooms, it's kind of more business-like.
Yeah.
And I want to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah. That's just a big difference this year, really, of not being in person and taking out that fun element in the questions that are being asked by the different media members. You look at last year that media event in the middle of Marlins Stadium. Mm-hmm. A lot of the players got a lot of questions that you normally wouldn't hear on these Zoom calls. These Zoom conferences this year really just seemed, like you said, so much more business oriented, more on the game, and we didn't get the fun, interesting questions out that people wanted to get out, and that was a tough thing as well, because a lot of the smaller guys from a lot of the different smaller broadcasting networks, they were able to come in with questions. You could tell some had some prepared and different things, but it's just different. Right. COVID kind of really just sucks a lot of the fun out of it. And just the different angles, because I know these players are really tired of answering what's it like going up against Tom Brady?
Exactly.
What's it? So it's, there's, and nothing against anybody, that's asking questions, but
a lot against them, because you hear the question beforehand, and so you have a little bit of time to redo basically your question.
Yeah, and that's it. But again, I think some guys still had questions up front that they
Right.
wanted to ask,
Right.
and even having those being taken away. Now you're being called on, and so it's really tough on that in that end. But again, COVID really just the restrictions have sucked a lot of the experience, and I can't even say the fun. It sucks a lot of the experience out of the entire week of what Radio Row is, and really what makes it so special, and especially for media members.
And Jazz, I know while we were on the Zoom, you sent the group message about a couple of players that have tested or not tested positive, but they're now out of the Super Bowl because of close contact with a person that has COVID. And so, those people were Demarcus Robinson and also Daniel Kilgore. So, Jazz, I want to get your thoughts about that because, of course, the NFL sent out a memo last week that said if any player is placed on the COVID-19 list after Thursday, they will be out of Super Bowl and won't be able to participate. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine it's one of the biggest the biggest game of the season, biggest game of your life. And here you are, unfortunately, taken out of it just like that. So, of course, shouts out to them and hope that they are okay. But it's just unfortunate. And I'm sure, as we've seen all throughout the season, when players go down, whether it's injury, whether it's to COVID, the players have always been supportive of each other, been there for each other. So, they're still going to be involved in one way or another, but you just hate to see it.
And Noel, your thoughts on these players that now, since they're placed on the COVID-19 list, they won't be able to participate in, like Jazz said, the biggest game of the season. And I've been talking about this for the past few weeks, and I don't know if you can remember, Q, but if knock on wood, if it had been Patrick Mahomes that was placed on the COVID-19 exemption list this week, would the NFL still continue on with this game? Noel, I'll start with you.
I think we can say when it comes to that question, it'll like I say, I like to compare Pat to LeBron a lot of times when it comes to stuff like this because, I mean, let's face it, he is, no pun intended, the face of the league at this point. And had he been on that list, I can't say that the NFL wouldn't have found some way to get around that rule. As unsafe as that is, we're seeing with everything that COVID has to offer, it has, like you said, sucks the fun, the experience out of everything. I can't say that I don't think the NFL wouldn't have found some way around that rule, honestly.
And I agree. I totally agree. Q, I know you sometimes are the conspiracy theorist. What are your thoughts about this?
No, and it's fun even really just throwing around the different conspiracies and just the different, pieces of stories that you can pull together these conspiracies. But yes, I think the big story behind this, and I think we talked about this last weekend on the show, this game almost seeming like Tom Brady passing the torch of like the best quarterback to play in the game right now, and the impact that has on a league that's already been impacted by COVID, and being impacted so much, again, sucking a lot of the experience out of not just the Super Bowl but the season as a whole. It just makes you wonder, like, what would they do in that instance? And I think it's the same as the concussion he went through. I believe that they rushed him through that process. Luckily for him, there's as far as we know, there's no long lasting effect in that, and what players of the past and the current have dealt with CTE. So you would hate that for Patrick, but you're just glad for the league, and not even just for the league, but you're glad for the Chiefs fans. I know I am. I'm glad for Chiefs fans that Patrick didn't go down, because what does this game look like without Patrick? The same on the opposite end. What does it look like without Tom Brady? And nobody wants to see that, no matter if it's from the least interested NFL fan
Mm-hmm.
to, you know, Roger Goodell at the top of the league. I don't think anybody wants to see this game without these two players.
Now, when we look at we're talking about the players that have been placed on the COVID-19 exemption list, two of the Kansas City Chiefs players. If our viewers or listeners have not heard the news, Demarcus Robinson, wide receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs, and Daniel Kilgore, who is a center for the Chiefs. Now, limited numbers now. You know, when you look at the wide receiver group, I mean, you have Sammy Watkins, who's questionable. You then have Byron Pringle. You have Tyreek Hill, Mecole Hardman, and Travis Kelce. Those are the guys that we know, right?
Yeah, the glue guys.
So then you bring in a guy like Antonio Callaway and Chad Williams. Those are guys who you really don't know. They're not a household name for Kansas City fans.
Yeah.
And it seems to me now, it's like, all right, if Mecole Hardman doesn't step up, you know, Byron Pringle has to step up as well. And Q, your thoughts on that? Because, you know, when you look at the numbers, they're limited. And if Sammy doesn't go, what do you do if you're Eric Bieniemy and Coach Andy Reid?
Yeah, definitely. Because you look at I wouldn't say Demarcus Robinson is a huge loss. I'm sure it is a loss somewhere in their scheme.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you talked about it, you know, a couple of weeks ago on the Red Hour, that Byron Pringle has definitely stepped up and really almost filled the shoes of that role. And the production didn't go down on offense,
right?
And especially in that spot. The only place I would worry about the Chiefs with that is the offensive lineman going down, because you had what was it, Eric Fisher that went out last week?
Yeah.
You know, with an injury. So now you have two holes on that offensive line. And looking at Patrick, you know, does that turf toe still bother him? You know, 2 or 3 weeks out from suffering that injury. And then also, as we talked about with the concussion, does he, you know, if he takes a hit and falls down, you know, knock on wood, I don't even want to speak that, but there are some things, you know, there are some holes in the offensive line that we've seen be detrimental to the quarterback position. And you just don't want to see that. And I think that I don't think it shifts too much from what they've, you know, what their game plan is. But I definitely think it does rearrange some things, because now, you know, you may not want Patrick to sit in the pocket as much. Maybe you want to roll a little more.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to do a little more shifting and motions pre-snap. You know, there's a bunch of different things that, you know, that Eric Bieniemy inserts. But what things are you able to do with these missing pieces? And what plays are you able to execute? And we've seen them, you know, have some bread and butter plays where we saw it on the 4th and 1 play. What was that, the Browns game?
Right.
And seeing that, how does that work, you know, without Eric Fisher?
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
and how does that work without certain players? So again, you just hope it doesn't derail them too much.
And you were talking about the offensive line. Again, this is a W show. We're broadcasting. Normally, you guys see us on Saturday mornings, but we're here. We're live inside of the Tampa Bay Convention Center here in Tampa Bay. And this is brought to you by Golden Gate Funeral and Cremation Services, the Stockman Lawfirm, Midway Auto, Soiree Steak and Oyster House, Gates Barbecue, The Soul of Santa, and Phenomenal Kids Childcare. Now, Jazz, we were talking about the offensive linemen. Now, those are guys that are in the trenches, the nitty-gritty guys that Q was talking about that have to block for Patrick. Now, it's 6 offensive linemen now. And a new guy that they're brought in off the practice squad, Prince Tega Winago. So not a household name again for Kansas City Chiefs fans. So what do you do? I mean, if you're now limited guys on the offensive line, Jazz, let's play. You're playing coach here. Well, what do you do? What do you tell your guys as you're preparing for the biggest game of some of these guys' life?
I mean, I really feel like all this year we've seen that the Chiefs have really had the next man up mentality. Somebody's always stepping up. You know, when Patrick Mahomes went down, he stepped up. And so I really feel like even if it isn't that not as known player, somebody is going to step up. And so to me, I mean, I'm sure obviously they'll have to shuffle some people around, but I think that they have the chemistry within that group already, without bringing somebody in that's new, that will be able to step up to do what they need to do.
Q, your thoughts on that?
I think they have a tough time, and now that you put the number out there, 6 offensive linemen, and you're looking at 5 playing at one time, and it's having that emergency backup, having somebody that can fill that role. So even if you're looking at say a linebacker or a defensive lineman that has to come in that emergency role, same way you would have someone that with it playing an emergency quarterback. And we saw that during the season. I forget if it was the Browns or who it was that brought the kid off of the street. But as for Chiefs fans, you would hope that you don't have to worry about that offensive that emergency offensive lineman, because when you look at the Buccaneers depth chart, I mean, we got a quote from JPP earlier, and really talking about, I don't know who this guy is, and he has to worry about stopping me,
right?
And I'm not too worried about who that is on that end. So when you look at these guys coming in with the mentality that I don't need to know your name, I don't need to know your tendencies,
right?
You have to stop me. And you look at athletes with that type of confidence in themselves. So when you see that they only have 6 offensive linemen, yes, I'm bull rushing. I'm trying to wear them down. I'm trying to get them to a point where they have to make these mistakes because they're so tired or just whatever it is. And you can get into guys' heads that way, and it's tough. I mean, you look at Ndamukong Suh, you look at Golston, you look at Jason Pierre-Paul, Levante David. So you have these guys that not only can get at the quarterback, but are very versatile pass rushers.
Right.
And it'll definitely be tough for the Chiefs offense on that end. But what team isn't tough?
Exactly. Exactly.
So
and you mentioned that confidence. Some people look at it as providing bulletin board material for the Chiefs. And no, I want to ask you, when you think about that bulletin board material, and Q talks about it all the time. He's like, it doesn't matter. You shouldn't have to worry about bulletin board material because, of course, playoff games, Super Bowl games, those are games that you shouldn't have to worry about getting up for.
You don't need that. You shouldn't need extra motivation.
Yeah, and when you hear JPP talk about, I don't need to know his name, he need to worry about me. What does that say? I mean, we really haven't heard a lot of that kind of bulletin board material going around. I mean, you would think that you'd hear from, like last year, Frank Clark.
We heard a lot.
We heard a lot from Frank.
Chris
Frank went
Jones.
out and did what he needed to do. You don't hear a lot of that this year, and that was kind of my concern going into the middle of the season, the tail end of the season, also the playoffs. Chris and Frank, we haven't heard that from you guys. Frank, you're not giving us that anybody can get it mentality. No, what are your thoughts on that?
I think that comes from being a veteran team and winning a Super Bowl, winning playoff games, just camaraderie, being on one team for a long period of time. I know as a competitor, I felt in my moments of when I was talking my most stuff was when I was the least confident. The most confident I've been, the less I talk. And I think that's, universal across all sports. And like you said, you don't hear it as much. You heard it last year because, at that point they hadn't won a Super Bowl. They had won playoff games. They had gotten to the playoffs, but they didn't have that championship swagger. The championship swagger, you can see it oozing off of a Tom Brady when he was getting interviewed earlier today. There wasn't a lot of, he was very calm. He was just back in his seat. He answered all the questions, relaxed. He was very respectful. You just you could see it, like I said, just dripping off of him. Yeah. Whereas you'll see a less experienced guy, he just wants to put on a front. He wants everybody to know that, hey, like I'm here, I'm in attack mode, I'm ready to do this and this. When a guy who's done it before, he's like, I don't need to say nothing. You've seen me do it, before. Right. I'm gonna do it again, but I'm not gonna talk about it. You're just gonna know just from my presence, you're gonna know that I'm here and I'm going to win this game. So I think that's kind of why you haven't seen any of the extras. I mean, and JPP, if I'm not mistaken, he played with did he play with the Giants when they won the Super Bowl?
Yes.
So I mean, maybe he's a different spin on that. Maybe that is, but that was 2011. We're talking about 2021 now. So he hasn't been back since. This is his first time back. So maybe he just kind of forgot. And I don't think that's very I don't think it's very smart on his end. As far as talking to a juggernaut that is the Chiefs. I mean, I get hyping yourself up for it. I get I gotta be here present in the moment. But I mean, I don't know about trash talking the Chiefs team like this, because they are very veteran and they are very talented. And I mean, I just don't see it as being a good idea. I see just showing up, doing your job, not having much to say about it. But that's just me. That's just my take.
And again, I think that's like just the veteran in him. I'm who I am, and these guys have to stop me. And I think that's what he was saying. Like, I'm not going to go too much into our scheme, but that question that you ask, which he's speaking to the reporter, like, ask them. They are the ones that have to worry about stopping me. Like, and I think he's looking at it like that. Like, this, I don't have to stop this offensive lineman from running down the field. I don't have to stop him from
He
catching
literally does it.
touchdowns.
He literally
I don't have
does
to
it.
worry about him in coverage. Like, I have to get past him or run through him. And I think that's again, advantage Tampa Bay. And there's, they really don't have many advantages, especially on that defensive side. But again, you look at these hobbled offensive linemen, and that could be an advantage. What if JPP gets in the head of Mike Rimmer, or whatever his name is? Again, I don't even know his name. So,
I would like to think, I think one of the things that I think we're going to see is Andy Reid. I mean, he's always in his bag. He's always the Louis, the Gucci, whatever it is, play calling wise, he's always in his bag. So I'm gonna think he'll make up for this somehow, some way. Whether it's leaving a tight end, whether it's putting a tight end in motion and just leaving him to pass block, utilizing an H-back situation, anything to get Patrick free. Like, because these defensive linemen, this defensive line is one of the best in the NFL. Like, they didn't get to didn't get to the Super Bowl by accident. Like, usually you see with these teams that are wild card teams, they are usually they're the type of team that they jump up on teams. Like, they surprise teams, so to speak. Like, everybody's kind of hey, we're the number one seed. We're we got this. We had the bye. And then you'll see with I go back to those Giants teams, 9-7. Everybody kind of counted them out, and then they just they had great defensive lines.
Yes,
and they had they had opportunistic cornerbacks and safeties. So I just the Buccaneers defense, I'm not so sure they can stop the Chiefs, but Patrick isn't taking them lightly. And neither is Andy Reid.
This defensive line is definitely some kryptonite for the Chiefs. The few times that we've seen the Chiefs go down in the past, 2 or 3 seasons, it's normally against a defensive line that is as stout as this one. I mean, we talk about JPP a lot, but you can't even rule out Ndamukong Suh.
No, he's a beast.
And the type of strength that he has. So again, if he's up against this tackle that comes in, and he's getting rattled, and you never know, the moment may be too big, and he gets his butt whooped all day. So,
and you talked about the moment being too big. I mean, go back to the first matchup this season with the Chiefs and the Bucks. I mean, Mark Lewis just said it. They're front four beasts, but the secondary is weak. We saw Tyreek Hill put up 200 yards in the first half. So if that being said, Tyreek just stepping out on the field is going to do something to the mental of the defensive backs on the Buccaneers. And real quick before we get out of here, kind of switch gears a little bit. want to ask you guys. Last season, I asked Tyrann Mathieu just about, and Noel mentioned it a few minutes ago, championship swagger. Tyrann, when Terrell Suggs came into, joined the Chiefs at the tail end of the season, I asked Tyrann, like, hey, what does Terrell Suggs bring to this squad? What does he do? I mean, he's a veteran. Will he get much playing time or what have you? And Tyrann said that he brings the championship swagger. He won a championship in with Baltimore. He was around that phenomenal defense. He was one of the leaders besides Ray Lewis on that Ravens defense, and he brought that to us. And now this year with Tyrann and the veteran guys on this Chiefs defense and the offense as well, they've won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So what is the message to those guys about championship swagger and, just going into this game? What is that message? And I want to start with you, Jazz. What would your message be via the championship swagger? If you were the leader of a Chiefs defense or offense, what would your message be to the young guys?
I think the biggest thing would just be confidence coming in, that we've been here, we've done this already, that we're on top. They should be the underdogs. We've already been here. So I think that would be the biggest thing, would just be coming in confident and that they're ready to run it back.
Yeah. No.
I would definitely say that preparation is going to be the key factor in the outcome of the game.
2 weeks off. They've had 2 weeks.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So you haven't played football in a couple weeks. Your body is, you've gotten a break, so you're going to be fresh. Everybody's going to be fresh. So the most important part is going to be who studied film the best, who had the best weeks of practice, who came, ready every day to the facility. And I think these teams, I wouldn't say they're so much evenly matched, but I think any team that has a Tom Brady on it and it's a Super Bowl, I mean, they're coming ready to play.
Right.
So, and the Chiefs, we already know they're going to be ready to play. They, like you said, they're trying to run it back. So this should be a really good game. This should be a really good chess match, I feel like. I don't really see any blowouts happening. I don't see a lot of mistakes being made. I see a very, very solid football game. So, yeah.
And I would even push back on that, on the no mistakes.
Right.
I feel like with the both teams being off in a very big moment, and then also with with a limited crowd,
right?
The crowd is not going to be as lively, at this Super Bowl. And I like how Jazz mentioned confidence. I think I like confidence because I think both teams are going to come out early and make some mistakes. I wouldn't be surprised if Pat or Tom comes out, maybe throws an interception, maybe a fumble earlier. We look at last week how McCole muffed a punt and Buffalo was able to get a quick score. But again, goes back to that confidence because they went right back to McCole and didn't allow him to get down on himself. So I think that's the key, and especially for this, this offensive line. It is really having the confidence that yes, mistakes will happen. Yes, turnovers may happen. Yes, these bad things may happen, but our ultimate confidence within ourselves, our talent, and the man next to you. And I think that's what it's going to come down to ultimately is confidence, because you have two teams full of confident athletes.
Two teams full of confidence. We're giving you guys confidence in us as you check us out each and every day this week. We'll be live here from Radio Row, starting tomorrow, 7:30 a.m. We'll break it down for you. We'll have more content for everyone that watches us and listening to us on 100.1 FM 1 Kansas City Radio, on any of our social media live streams. We appreciate it. We'll be right back here tomorrow. We'll have more Chiefs news. We'll have more Chiefs coverage. We'll have more Tampa Bay Buccaneers coverage if you're into that kind of thing. A lot of stuff going on this week with us in Tampa Bay. We'll take you behind the curtain as we go around the city, talk to some fans. We saw some Chiefs fans riding around with flags on their vehicles yesterday. So, and this was deep in Tampa. So we'll be back again tomorrow, bright and early tomorrow morning. It'll be 7:30 Eastern time. Until tomorrow, we are out of here.
You're tuned in to The W with Walls and the crew, where winning isn't everything. It's the only thing. on 100.1 FM and Facebook Live.